Welcome to Football with Cheese. In this video, we're going to close out the offseason recaps of the AFC West. We're going to do the Kansas City Chiefs. If you have not, please subscribe now. Turn the bell for notifications so you never miss a video. So the Chiefs last season, if you did not know, went 15-2, made it all the way to the Super Bowl, and lost. They got destroyed. It was 40-6 at some point early fourth quarter. They won 10 games by one score, which is the second most all time. They won a lot of close games. They have done that for years under Reed and Mahomes. More on that later. The 2022 Vikings won 11 games by one score. Their plus 59 point differential was not even close to the top of the NFL. In fact, it was the third best in the division. The Chargers were plus 101, and the Broncos were plus 114. So not even close to either one of those. Although I'll say this, the Broncos did beat the Chiefs 38-0 to end the season. The Chiefs rested their players. So you can probably throw that game out. But still, third best in the division in point differential. So they won a lot of close games. They were not like the Chiefs in years before. They just weren't as good, but they won a lot of close games. So they were the number one seed in the AFC. They got home field advantage and made it to the Super Bowl. And that's when it fell apart. NFL is about matchups. Some teams match up well with others, and some don't. The Broncos, for example, did not match up well with the Bills and got destroyed. The Chargers didn't match up well with the Texans. The Chargers didn't have the defensive line to take advantage of the Texans' offensive line, which was really bad last year. They did not take advantage of that. The Chiefs did, and the Chiefs beat them. So the Chargers lost that game. And the Chiefs really struggle with a team like the Eagles. The Eagles are dominant on both lines. And the Chiefs really struggled on the offensive line. The Bills could not take advantage of it. The Texans could not take advantage of it. The Eagles took advantage of that. And they forced Mahomes into some bad throws, turnovers, and it was just completely one-sided Super Bowl. One of the most dominant Super Bowls I've ever seen. But the good news for the Chiefs is they had to go off season, in my opinion. I think they'll be better next year. I do not think the record will be as good because the division's going to be really tough. But I do think they have a better roster. Let's get into it. In free agency, they re-signed Trey Smith. They franchised him, then re-signed him. That's the key offseason move they made. They decided to trade Joe Thuney, the left guard. He's 32. He had one more year on his contract. They weren't going to re-sign him, very likely. So they just traded him to the Bears, see what they could get for him. To me, they probably couldn't afford both players. Let's go with the younger player, Trey Smith, the right guard. He's one of the better right guards in the NFL. I wouldn't say he's elite. He's just very good. And they signed Christian Fulton, cornerback from the Chargers. I think one of the more underrated moves. No one's really talking about it. But that gives them one of the best cornerback rooms in the NFL because they already had Trent McDuffie in the slot, one of the best corners in the NFL. And Jalen Watts on the outside also is very good. And then they drafted a corner in the third round. More on that in a second. And Jalen Moore, they signed offensive tackle, 2 years, $30 million. So who is Jalen Moore? Most people don't know. He was the fill-in tackle for the 49ers when Trent Williams was hurt. He did a decent job. Not a great job, not terrible. He did decent. And the Chiefs are banking on him at least being their left tackle till Josh Simmons is healthy. More on Josh Simmons in a second. But Jalen Moore, more than likely, is not the long-term answer at left tackle. If he is, wow, what a signing. It's a very small sample size. He's a former fifth-round pick of the Niners, went to Western Michigan. But I think the Chiefs felt like this is the best we can do, and we've got to get someone to at least play tackle. Maybe he can play guard. So let's talk about the draft. They did use their first-round pick on Josh Simmons. He's an offensive tackle from Ohio State. He fell to pick 31. Most people think it was because of the injury, the patella tendon injury, and he might not be able to go till October, November. But I did a deep dive into this, and a lot of teams actually weren't as concerned about the injury. They felt like it would heal and he'd be fine. Typically knee, ankle injuries, leg injuries, basically in general, you worry more about skill position players like corners, wide receivers, tight ends, stuff like that, not linemen. But I read that some teams moved him off the board or took him off the board because there were some immaturity and character concerns. I had not seen that prior to the draft. And of all the teams in the NFL, the Chiefs will take more risks on character than anyone. You can look it up. I'm not going to go over all the names. So the Chiefs will take a chance. If Josh Simmons wasn't hurt and didn't have the character issues, he probably would have been a top 10 pick. To me, he's a better prospect than Kelvin Banks, who went 9th overall. If you take away character and injury, Kelvin Banks has impeccable character. He's a locker room leader, so makes sense that he was probably overdrafted. So my guess is the Chiefs are hoping Jalen Moore can hold down left tackle until Simmons is healthy, and they'll move Jalen Moore into left guard. That is my guess, because Kingsley Suamataia really struggled when he tried to play left tackle last year. He was a second-round pick out of BYU in 2024. Real athletic, but needs a lot of work. Just a mess last year. And right now he's projected to be the starting left guard. Who knows? Maybe he takes the guard better than tackle, but that has a chance to be a disaster. More on that in a second. They also drafted Omar Norman Lott, defensive tackle, Tennessee. They needed another defensive tackle opposite Chris Jones. Ashton Gilletti in the 3rd round, edge rusher. They really needed an edge rusher opposite Karlaftis. I thought that was a little bit of reach. I thought he was more of a 4th or 5th round pick. And then Noah Williams, cornerback from Cal. They didn't need a corner, but he's got incredible ball skills. Inconsistent on the field, but incredible ball skills. Just a really deep cornerback room in Kansas City. But their best draft pick was Jalen Royals, and there's a chance that he has the biggest impact, even though he's a 4th round pick of all these rookies. We don't know Rashid Rice's injury and then also legal situation. So Jalen Royals might be the starting slot week 1. I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a 70, 80 catch rookie year. I just don't understand why he fell the 4th round. I read somewhere that teams were concerned about his foot injury, but he was healthy at the Combine. He was healthy at the Senior Bowl, and he had a great workout. He ran a 4.42. This could go down as one of the biggest draft steals we've seen in a long time. Late 4th round pick, not just 4th round pick, Jalen Royals, wide receiver from Utah State. So I think he'll have the biggest impact of any rookie, mainly because Josh Simmons won't be ready to start the season, or very likely won't be. Undrafted free agent to keep an eye on, Dalton Cooper, offensive tackle, Oklahoma State. Probably doesn't stay at tackle, but successful offensive tackles that have to move into guard still get drafted 5th, 6th round. He's got good size too, so I'm a little surprised that he didn't get drafted, but I think he could develop into a starting guard down the line. Their most important players, this is easy. Patrick Mahomes, quarterback, one of the best in the NFL. Travis Kelce, the tight end, not the player he used to be at all, but still worth mentioning. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He just doesn't have the athleticism he used to be. Basically, he just sits in zones. He's very good at that. He's got a high football IQ. He's very good at finding the hole in the zone. Chris Jones, one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, especially rushing the passer. Trent McDuffie, we mentioned him, slot corner, outstanding player. And then no one talks about him much, but Creed Humphrey is probably the best center in the NFL. Biggest question for the Chiefs is offensive line. Creed Humphrey at center, Trey Smith at right guard, outstanding. The rest of the offensive line, we'll see. I mentioned they're probably going to play Kingsley Suamataia early on. That could be rough. Right tackle Jawan Taylor is just not very good. They signed him to a big money contract. He has not lived up to expectations. I'm surprised he's still on the team. I guess they just don't have anyone to replace him. But he gets so many penalties, and there's a lot of penalties they don't call on him. Maybe they feel bad. He should be called for even more. Just not a good right tackle. Maybe after this year, they can put Josh Simmons at left tackle and Jalen Moore can move over to right side. We'll see. But the offensive line at left guard and right tackle just really aren't good. And they got exposed bad in the Super Bowl to the Eagles. Breakout player, very easy. Xavier Worthy was their 1st-round pick last year. Started slow. Was more of a gadget player, but really came on late in the season in the playoffs. Became that deep threat. Might be a player that you want to draft in your fantasy team. This is not a fantasy channel at all. I don't really like talking about fantasy football. But Xavier Worthy, if he plays like he did late in the season in the playoffs, he's going to have a big year. This is the deepest wide receiver group the Chiefs have had in a long time, especially if Rashid Rice is healthy and not suspended. So I think the Chiefs could be a little better this year, especially when Josh Simmons is healthy, but they're not going to win nearly the amount of games. I know they win a lot of close games. Patrick Mahomes is clutch. Andy Reid's a good coach. But also Steve Spagnuolo is a great defensive coordinator, and he likes to throw everything at you in the 4th quarter. For example, In that playoff game against the Bills, very close win, AFC title game, he didn't blitz at all the first 3 quarters, and then about 8 minutes to go, started throwing every blitz at Josh Allen, including that last play. That ball went up for grabs. Probably should have been caught. But that was brilliant by Steve Spagnuolo. The offensive line had so much trouble with the blitzes he threw at them. That's another reason they win close games. But there's no way they're going to win 10 one-score games again. It's just next to impossible. So they could be the 3rd best team in this division. We'll see how the Chargers and Broncos do. They took a big step this past year, but I could see the Chiefs being 10-7 or 11-6. I know Chiefs fans probably not going to like to hear that, but the division is going to be tough, and the Raiders are a lot better. Okay, so what do you think? Chiefs were 15-2 last year. How many wins do you think they'll have this year? Make sure you are subscribed if you have not. Enable alerts so you never miss a video. If you enjoyed this video, please give a like. It really helps out the channel. Check these out if you have not. Please share this with anyone who loves football as we continue to grow here at Football with Cheese. And I will see you guys in the next video.